Two princes disappeared in Tower, England, 1483. A kingdom on edge. The Wars of the Roses, a decades-long dynastic struggle, had finally sputtered to a bloody, uneasy close with the victory of Edward IV of the House of York, but his sudden death threw everything into turmoil. His heir, the 12-year-old Edward V, was too young to rule, leaving a power vacuum ripe for exploitation. Whispers of illegitimacy already plagued the young king, planted by those who sought to destabilize the York dynasty. The stage was set for a ruthless Game of Thrones, a deadly dance of ambition and betrayal. The Tower of London, already a symbol of royal power and imprisonment, would soon become the backdrop for a chilling mystery that has haunted history for centuries. Even in death, Edward IV casts a long shadow, his legacy of strength and decisiveness now threatened by the vulnerability of his sons. And amidst the political intrigue, a darker presence lurks, a figure whose ambition knows no bounds. The young Edward V, still a boy in many ways, was traveling from Ludlow to London to claim his throne. His uncle, Richard, Duke of Gloucester, was appointed Lord Protector, ostensibly to guide the young king until he came of age. But Richard, a seasoned warrior and cunning politician, had his own designs. He intercepted Edward along the way, separating him from his mother's family, the powerful Woodvilles, who represented a rival faction at court. This act, presented as a measure to protect the young king from potential enemies, was the first clear sign of Richard's ambition. Edward was lodged in the Tower of London, ostensibly to await his coronation, but the tower, with its grim history and imposing walls, felt less like a royal residence and more like a gilded cage. Weeks later, Edward's younger brother, Richard, Duke of York, was also moved to the tower. The official reason was to keep the prince's company, to provide comfort and support during a difficult transition, but the reality was far more sinister. With both heirs to the throne safely confined, Richard of Gloucester had effectively neutralized the York dynasty's most potent threat. The princes, once symbols of hope and continuity, were now pawns in a dangerous game. Rumors began to circulate, whispers of discontent and unease spreading through the city like wildfire. People questioned Richard's motives, his actions increasingly appearing less like those of a protector and more like those of a jailer. The tower, already steeped in history, became a silent witness to a growing sense of dread. Then they vanished. Sometime in the summer of 1483, the two princes disappeared from the tower. No bodies were ever found. No official explanation was ever given. The disappearance sparked outrage and suspicion. How could two young boys, heirs to the throne, simply vanish from the most heavily guarded fortress in England? The lack of answers fueled speculation and conspiracy theories, many pointing directly at Richard of Gloucester, now the most powerful man in the kingdom. He soon declared himself King Richard III, further inflaming public opinion. The whispers grew louder, accusations of murder and treachery echoing through the corridors of power. An investigation, if it could even be called that, was launched, but it was clearly a whitewash. Richard III, now firmly in control, had no interest in uncovering the truth. The investigation focused on discrediting the Woodvilles and other potential rivals, conveniently deflecting attention away from the king himself. Witnesses were intimidated, evidence was suppressed, and the official narrative became one of vague assurances and unanswered questions. The people of England were not fooled. They knew something terrible had happened within the walls of the tower, and they suspected Richard III was responsible. But fear kept them silent, at least for a while. The most obvious suspect, of course, was Richard III. He had the motive, the opportunity, and the ruthlessness to eliminate his nephews. But there was no direct evidence linking him to the crime. The only accounts came from those who had reason to either protect him or destroy him. Sir James Tyrrell, a knight in Richard's service, was later implicated in the alleged murder, confessing under torture years later to killing the princes on Richard's orders. But was this confession genuine, or was it coerced to satisfy Richard's enemies after his death? The truth remains elusive, shrouded in the fog of history and political maneuvering. But others also harbored ambitions and resentments. Henry Stafford, the Duke of Buckingham, initially supported Richard III's claim to the throne, but later turned against him, leading a rebellion in favor of the young princes, or rather, their memory. Could Buckingham have been involved in the disappearance, perhaps hoping to install himself as regent for a rescued Edward V? The Woodvilles, the prince's maternal family, also had reason to want Richard III removed, but they have orchestrated the disappearance to destabilize his reign and pave the way for their own return to power. The web of suspects and motives is complex and tangled, making it impossible to definitively identify the culprit. One persistent rumor suggested that the princes were not actually dead, but had been spirited away to safety. Some believed they were hidden in a remote monastery, while others claimed they were taken to the continent, waiting for the right moment to reclaim their birthright. These rumors, fueled by hope and desperation, offered a glimmer of light in a dark period of history. But despite numerous investigations and searches over the centuries, no credible evidence has ever emerged to support these claims. The princes remain lost to history, their fate forever shrouded in mystery. In 1485, Richard III was defeated and killed at the Battle of Bosworth Field by Henry Tudor, who then became King Henry VII. Henry's victory marked the end of the Wars of the Roses and the beginning of the Tudor dynasty. One of Henry's first acts was to marry Elizabeth of York, Edward IV's daughter, uniting the houses of York and Lancaster and solidifying his claim to the throne. But the mystery of the princes in the Tower continued to haunt the new king. Their disappearance remained a stain on the legitimacy of the Tudor dynasty, a constant reminder of the treachery and violence that had paved the way for their rule. Henry VII, despite his marriage to Elizabeth of York, also benefited from the prince's disappearance. With them gone, his claim to the throne, though tenuous, was significantly strengthened. He made no serious effort to find them, and even exploited the rumors of their survival to his advantage, using them to suppress potential rebellions. Perkin Warbeck, a young man who claimed to be Richard, Duke of York, emerged during Henry's reign, attracting considerable support and posing a serious threat to the Tudor dynasty. Henry's ruthless suppression of Warbeck demonstrated his determination to eliminate any potential rivals, even those who claimed to be the lost princes. Centuries later, in 1674, workmen renovating the Tower of London discovered a wooden chest containing the skeletons of 2 children. The bones were widely believed to be those of the missing princes, King Charles II ordered them to be interred in Westminster Abbey. However, the identification of the skeletons has never been definitively proven. Modern forensic analysis has been limited due to the condition of the remains and the lack of comparative DNA. The possibility remains that the bones belong to someone else entirely, perhaps victims of another forgotten tragedy within the tower's walls. Even today, the mystery endures. Historians continue to debate the fate of the princes, poring over historical documents and re-examining the evidence. The lack of definitive proof has allowed countless theories to flourish, each offering a different interpretation of the events that transpired in the Tower of London in 1483. Some argue for Richard III's guilt, while others point to alternative suspects and motives. The case remains open, a chilling reminder of the dark side of royal ambition and the fragility of power. The story of the princes in the tower has become a powerful symbol of innocence lost and the corrupting influence of power. It has inspired countless works of art, literature, and drama, each offering its own perspective on the tragedy. Shakespeare's play, Richard III, cemented the king's image as a ruthless villain, responsible for the murder of his nephews. While Shakespeare's portrayal is undoubtedly biased, it has nonetheless shaped popular perception of Richard III for centuries. The princes have become tragic figures, symbols of a lost generation, and the brutal realities of medieval politics. The Tower of London itself stands as a silent monument to the mystery. Its imposing walls have witnessed countless acts of intrigue, betrayal, and violence. The ghosts of the past seem to linger within its stones, whispering tales of lost souls and forgotten tragedies. Visitors to the tower can still visit the White Tower, the oldest part of the fortress, and imagine the young princes confined within its walls, unaware of the fate that awaited them. The tower remains a chilling reminder of the dark secrets that lie buried beneath the surface of history. Ultimately, the truth about the princes in the tower may never be fully known. The evidence is circumstantial, the motives are complex, and the historical record is incomplete, but the enduring mystery serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked ambition and the enduring power of unanswered questions. Whether they were murdered by their uncle, spirited away to safety, or met some other unknown fate, the princes in the tower remain forever frozen in time, symbols of a kingdom lost and a tragedy that continues to resonate across the centuries.